Stop Now, a social experiment enterprise. Stop, listen, share. Everyone can make a difference. We are on a mission. Everyone should do something greater in their lifetime. Change the future. Be a proud member. Join us to support, volunteer, and donate.
Hello and welcome to Stop Now. I'm Nate. Welcome back, everybody. Glad to be back with you all. Thank you to everybody that watched our last episode where we talked about some of our favorite moments from our first year of doing these live talk shows here at Stop Now. This is our second year. And so with the new year comes changes, and a change in particular that I'm happy to introduce. To you all. I don't know if that flows correctly, grammatically speaking. So maybe our new co-host can help me out with that, given her grasp of the English language. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on our new co-host, our new teammate, Savita. Savita, thank you so much for joining us here at Stop Now.
Hi, this is Savita. Thanks for having me here. It's nice to be here. So, like I said, my name is Savita, and it sounds so different when you say the name. Thanks for that, though. Yes, I'm from south of India, and a special place called Chennai. And to say about the place, it's a place where you have all around the year, you have summer. So people ask me, like, what's so special about your place? I say summer, and more summer every year. So that kind of a place is where I come from. And
we're so glad to have you here. And speaking of routines and normalcy, it's routine for us to bring on another person on this show. He is that man in the mask. Ladies and gentlemen, JK is with us again this week. JK, how are you?
I'm good, Nate. I thought you just forgot about me.
How could we forget about you?
So I was going to say, welcome aboard, Savita. Thank you for joining us. Savita, what made you to join us? What is the interest you find that in Stop Now?
The first thing, it spoke about social issues. I thought it will connect more to me. And it was more on a talk show part, and I like to talk, I like to interact, I like to communicate. And when you have guests like that, and when we talk about issues, because I'm very aware about what's going on around the world in different parts of countries, and because I like to talk to people in person, virtually, and I like day-to-day life, my job was to talk to people. More than English, it sometimes it becomes a session, it becomes a psychological session, or it becomes a therapy session. Therapy in the sense, we need someone to talk to, just expressing what we feel itself, it kind of becomes a therapy. And I feel the female need to talk at least 25,000 words a day, and I think I feel that in morning coffee. So I think it's important for me to interact and talk. And when you are in a foreign country, especially like me, who are away from family, and you don't have a sense of community here in a town like this, I think it's very important that to keep my mental health sane and stable, it's important that you interact, talk, exchange views, ideas. I think it's very important. And as a person, I think I have to talk. And this kind of was tailor-made for me. So I found the rest of the issues, I don't think it's a big one, but just to keep our mental health sane and stable and interaction. And if something we could change, or if we could make a difference to someone somewhere, I think it's a very noble thing that one person can do.
I was just going to say, I think that's something that a lot of people have maybe figured out over this last year, the importance of connections, the importance of communication, mental health, like how important it is to not only take time for yourself, but to take time to talk with people, because that's how you can often figure out, what's going on in your own head.
Exactly, and last 2 years, I think people have realized it so much. There were times when people wanted a break, so that they could watch a movie or they could talk to someone. It's like 2 years were just break. You can do whatever you wanted to. Actually, the first 1 month or 1.5 months was a honeymoon kind of a place for all over the world, especially for people who were who had food in the table. Most of the table, you had never had that kind of a break in
Yeah.
life for most of the people who had professional. But after a month or two, after a couple of months, it kind of, we didn't know what to do. End of the day, people need people. A human being needs a human being.
Hmm.
So I was like, especially in the place where I am, you can take a dog for a walk from 6 to 7 or something like that. Only if you have a dog. And people were buying puppies just to meet a fellow human being. It was so surprising. You go inside a house and you lock yourself. And I come from a very populated place, and you just see heads everywhere. And here you live in a small community inside your house, and you have your television. Of course, you have a small nuclear family kind of a thing, but the kind of interaction, the kind of talking that goes, even it could be a gossip or anything, but your brain needs that.
Yeah.
The whole nervous system needs some kind of an interaction. So I found that to be very important, and I realized that's the truth of life the last 2 years.
It's funny because I think something that I went through a couple months ago, and I think a lot of people are starting to go through, is if you've been in the house for a year and then you go back to work, you go back, like just simple things that we take for granted, like driving to work. Like there can be some anxiety that goes along with that, where it's like, I think I forgot how to drive on the freeway. It's like, I think I forgot how to be outside of the house. I forgot how to be at work with other people. And I think just that reintegration of like what life was last year and what life is going to be the rest of this year and next year, I think that's going to be a process, even with my nieces, having to do online school all of last year. Going back into the classroom was an adjustment for them, because it's like, I know how to be in school, but I haven't been in school for a year. And so everything is like relearning. And so I think being aware of that and like you said, having connections with people are going to be very important this upcoming year, because you don't realize how much you miss it until you don't have it. I have so many friends, Savita, that would call me and back in 2019 would call me and want to hang out or whatever. And I'm like, I'm busy, stop bothering me, this or that. And it's like, now I'm like, I wish those friends would call me. I wish we could go hang out. And so I feel like it's going to be a lot of adjustments that we all have to make.
About this driving, you said, isn't it scary? I mean, oh my God. When you have a sense of space, you are inside a house, even though you have a bigger house or smaller house, there's a sense of claustrophobic kind of a thing that you have. You have four walls. You go straight, you hit a wall, however big the house is. But when you go drive, or you go in a highway, or you go to a garden or a park, it's such a sense of space that you have. Your mind needs some time to appreciate and adjust that to find to see it's different. So I'm scared for children who were in online. They were looking at the teachers and online classes and all that. Now they have to actually go to a classroom, sit, and they're going to have actual friends next to them, and they have a whiteboard or blackboard in front of them. But of course, here in Europe, that was never a problem. People always, the children always went to school. I think that was a good decision, what they did. But when you said about the driving, it's scary. I never thought about this particular thing. Yes.
So Nate, we have been doing multiple challenges the last over, and we did a retro last week about happy moments, our favorites, and all those things.
Yes.
But I do need to revisit that and think that like what comments we got and what feedback we had from the audiences and what we didn't do right. That will help us to, don't you think, like we have to do that so that we can be fair and judge ourselves so that we can improve on. And I'm
I don't
happy
know. I don't know anything that I did that was wrong, JK. But if the audience might have seen something, I think we need to listen to them.
Yes, absolutely. And also, as we have a new member joining in, I think it will be fair, like for us to ask about us to her, like the first one. And I'm happy that and I want to challenge that, like how the American accent and the international thing that we are trying to do here, and you have to say her name correctly. That's the first one.
That's the first feedback.
I'm just kidding, because I heard some of them dropped out in our team. The reason being oh, it's so American. I can't understand what Nate or Melissa speaks, and they can't understand because the Indian English is different. And I was going to onboard a British person as well, and also an Australian. So then I realized oh, it's kind of, we are addressing certain topics. That was the feedback I got. And I really wanted to focus on that. We had a sponsor. We didn't, we had a big donation, if you remember, right? So that was, I was going to focus on that. And the board member gave me this feedback saying that you're not addressing those specific issues. Like we did a couple of interviews alone with Harold D'Souza and other victims, but we didn't focus on more on those things, right? So I wanted to highlight on those things, though we did some experiment and case investigation on some of the companies, but we were not doing extensively on that. So that, I think, some of the drawbacks, I would say not from our part, but as part of our evolution, right? I'm not a believer, so I will say that again and again. So the evolution process, the science, what interests me. So in that way, I'll say, we were making baby steps. We were lacking resources to go broad spectrum and cover all those topics and do extensively. And also we have not stabilized. We don't have the expertise or resources again. With a limited budget, we were trying to organically grow, and we didn't focus on optimizing our channel or promoting it or trying to get more viewers. Those things, we didn't do it. So those are the drawbacks, and we didn't focus that for various reasons, as I mentioned. But if we would have done that, we would have been more successful. And I wouldn't measure that as a success, but still, it would have been more reach than what we have done, right? So 1 year is a long period for individual's life, because we all know that how much it can grow. And also, as a nonprofit, we are trying to focus for the next 3 to 4 years, at least 5-year period, where we can make those kind of assessment. So correct me if I'm wrong. These are the feedbacks I got from some of them.
I think, well, first, let's address the first one. Savita, how am I supposed to pronounce your name? Because I want to get it right.
Oh, you see, names of the countries and name of my name it's a proper noun. So how you call it, it doesn't matter. The point is, Savita, it's T-H-A. So when you write Savita, it is usually S-A-V-I-T-A. That's how you think it is.
Yeah.
It's T-H-A. So it's ta. So it doesn't matter. So because in your mind, when you think about my name and you try to spell it, it's T-A. That's why you pronounce it as Savita. So it doesn't matter. I was just joking.
Not a problem.
You have an easy name, of course.
Yes, I have the easiest name on. Actually, JK has the easiest name because it's 2 letters.
Right, yeah.
But I think the second part, JK, is I do think that there is room to grow. I think when you look at the last year of the channel here and doing the shows and doing the experiments and all, I think there could have been more growth. There can always be more growth, but I also don't think that, you need to downplay the growth that we've had, because when I started, we weren't even doing shows. When I started, it was strictly audio. It was basically a podcast. And to go from that to the point where we're doing all these live shows, I think that's an accomplishment. And yes, you always want to be bigger. You always want to have more reach so that we can address these issues with the largest audience possible. But I think it's all a process. You know, we're bigger right now than we were last year, and we'll be bigger next year than we are today. At least that's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. I don't want to be more critical, but one other point I wanted to mention is we gave a free hand to a couple of other people that backfired. And also I wanted to engage with the guests. The special guests are so awesome, right? So
yeah,
they did it for free, and they helped us to streamline and learn a lot about those specific topics, which we are not expert on that. And I wanted to be in touch with them so that we can bring them back again, right? And also we have to learn certain things in a way that we can put a stop, if we are not doing well, right? For example, some guests, we ourselves, right? I learned a lot. I never used to speak so much, but I started speaking because of you, Nate. So, but there needs to be a point where one of the guests, the language mission, he was explaining, right? We just randomly throw out words. When we get an opportunity, we start speaking and we say blah, 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 blah. We never stop. So we need to stop that, right? So even to the guest, right, we have to be specific to it. So certain drawbacks happened in those areas, I would say, but it's not very critical. I would say we can move on and pass on that. Conclude with our anniversary thing. We cannot go on this forever. Let's stop there. And
stop
also,
now.
Yes, stop now. And again, once again, thank you so much, Savita, for joining us. Yes. And hopefully we will have a longer, fruitful association with you in Staff Now.
Sure. I like to talk, I really like to talk. It's a nice, but it's a human nature. We never want to accept that it's wrong, especially when the more someone tries to say that we are wrong, it's more adamant we're going to hold on to say that we are right. So I think it's the mindset. It's the kind of how analytically we're going to think about a problem or anything, and that's how human nature is,
And that's part of the reason why there's so many new COVID cases in America, but that's a conversation for another day. So yes, I want to thank everybody, whether you are new to the channel or whether you've been watching since we started a year ago. Thank you so much for joining the conversation, joining the discussion, keeping these issues front of mind. Thanks to JK for always being here, the man in the mask, and a very special thank you to Savita. I'm going to work on that this week. Thank you for joining us and joining the team. Glad to have you here.
Thanks.
All right. So
and thanks, JK.
For everybody here, from all of us to all of you, we'll see you next time. Stop Now.
Stop Now, a social experiment enterprise. Stop, listen, share. Everyone can make a difference. We are on a mission. Everyone should do something greater in their lifetime. Change the future. Be a proud member. Join us to support, volunteer, and donate.